How can we hold this government accountable?
Actually, I want to have my brother here who's in government
to tell us
what are they doing for us, and then I can say how I would like.
Yes, just in relation to what Stella has asked and what Diana said earlier, you focused on young people. 8 million young people did not vote.
This is the first time we are seeing in the history of our 2010 constitution, a cabinet continue unconstitutionally in a timeline that they should have already been dissolved. His first act as president
should have been to put
government in place so that he can be advised by these people who he's entrusting to run this government.
Let me let you defend yourself before I defend you.
I feel like the focus, yes, they're telling us we'll do this for you.
There's usually a procedure to everything. For example, the vetting process, the selection, the announcement. It will take time.
I agree, but he could have appointed, because if you knew you're going to get administrative, you're going to be the new administration, I'm sure you've thought of who will help you run this government.
Well, you know, Stella, I'm kind of perturbed with the sentiments of my sister, because
before I help you,
this is a president who respects the rule of law. Yeah. Trying to
actually
imply,
he doesn't.
Trying to imply
we'll come to why you think he doesn't.
Trying to imply that the president would have dismissed the cabinet without following the due process is kind of worrying. Because we have a president who, on his first day of swearing in on 15th of September, he was very categorical and said there are processes that have happened, political and goodwillness, that has made some things not move as required. One of them is the appointing of the appeal court judges, of which he did.
That was
day one. You get me? To show his commitment to the rule of law. All these processes of assigning CSS, it is procedural. And he has followed the procedure.
And it's constitutional.
Which is constitutional.
But the timeline?
And tomorrow...
And the timeline?
Come again?
And the timeline?
The timeline is within... the only thing he did is to name the nominees.
No, I'm saying the timeline in which you do this. Like, this is the first time, by the way, in Kenyan history that we are seeing we are still continuing without a sitting cabinet. That's what I'm asking about in terms of the timeline. So we were asking, when he's making these executive decisions, normally a president, we know if he's making these executive decisions, we'll know it's either coming from this ministry. If it's about agriculture, we know it's definitely coming from that.
And you can't put policies in place without them.
Exactly, but now he was making such pronouncements like saying that, no, GMO is no longer banned. Who advised that? We didn't have a sitting cabinet. So those are the things that worry me.
That was the decision of the cabinet, actually, the former cabinet.
The former cabinet, but not the outgoing cabinet, not his cabinet. And then additionally,
I think that's semantics. Is it legal? It's not legal. Because again, having worked in government, some things they're theoretical. When you get into that seat, it becomes changes. A whole different ballgame.
And why I was disagreeing with him that President William Ruto is someone who respects the rule of law. The court had said that the CAS position is illegal. And here we are seeing CASs.
That's a different conversation. We'll come to
Additionally, let me just say why I don't think that the rule of law also, let me finish in this point, is that also we saw the court also say that CDF fund is also disbanded. But he was like, no, we are going to correct the court.
Okay. You see, on those two scenarios, like the CAS, it was not a complete disbandment of the position. The court made its pronouncement on it, and it gave its guidelines. The only thing that was not done during that previous regime is that there was no public participation, which was carried out, and recommendations are well documented. I'll challenge her to go to the the Public Service Commission and get that report and understand. Because you see, it is not William Ruto who gazetted these positions for applications from willing Kenyans. It was the PSC, you get me? Meaning, the law is being followed to the latter. You've not heard the president even pronounce himself on those particular positions. He has not.
And in terms of the CDF for MPs?
The CDF for the MPs, it is simple. I was privileged to associate with the speaker then, Justin Muturi. Yeah. And honestly speaking, the only problem the court had with the CDF is the involvement of the member of parliament in its operation. The court did not suggest that we do away with the CDF. No. The court suggested that if a member of parliament is involved in the running of this CDF, then it is unconstitutional.
Okay,
of which the recommendations are that as you implement this CDF, let MPs not be part of that committee or the team that handles the CDF. Let them do their role up there, but CDF continue running, but without the member of parliament being involved.
So we're saying, before we get into what this government is actually doing for the young people, because that was my actual question, there was the comment, which is, I guess, where you were very, excited to jump on it, is that when he said that that he's abided by the law, the rule of law, and that he's creating opportunities for young people, even as he's rolling out his program, which is what you had started. You talked about the Soweto housing program. Yeah. So you were trying to say that in different sectors, there are opportunities being created for the young people.
Exactly.
By this president.
Exactly, because you see, another thing that the president is very keen, look at the CRB listing. Mm-hmm. A lot of young people have been listed on that thing. They cannot access
that one, at least you agree.
Finance. You get me? They cannot access extra finances for their own small errands here and there. And the president has come out clearly, and he had a meeting with those particular stakeholders and told them, look, you don't have to list a young person who has a loan of 100 shillings or 1,000 bob on the CRB, impeding him not to achieve the goals he wants to achieve.
Score. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which determines then how much they get.
Exactly. And then, in the same regard, you see a president who is saying, I am going to launch the Hustlers Fund. And the interest rate of this Hustlers Fund is not going to be a free kitty for the young people, because he doesn't want also to bring up a lazy generation. Because if you tell young people that I'm going to give you
Dana,
Hustlers Fund...
do you agree with that, Hannah?
No,
you get me?
Are you at least in agreement with the comment?
Just allow me to complete it. He comes and says, I am going to give these young people who have been having the challenges of being listed on CRB with access to affordable credit. This affordable credit is going to empower them to build their small enterprises in their own small way, and therefore increase the platform or the space of creating income for these young people. And in the long run, these young people will pay taxes. Because you've seen
one of the challenges, let me just stop it there. One of the challenges that the funds normally have, which we've talked about before on this show, is you cannot give young people money just because they apply for it. If they don't have the skills or the requisite, even the idea that will generate enough money to pay back what they borrowed and also sustain themselves, you're not really helping the situation. So what is government doing to make sure that we are not falling into the same trap that has been there in the past?
And that is why, to the shock of many, who thought or who imagined that the president is going to dish out money, they are getting perturbed by the fact that the president is saying, hii pesa si ya bure. Na kama unangoja kupata pesa ya bure.
But Newton, that's my point. The issue is not whether ni bure ama ni. In fact, it's worse when it has an interest rate.
Yes.
Because whatever you borrow, you have to be making sure your business is doing so well that you're able to pay yourself and pay back the loan.
Yes.
So what is government making sure that the chances of success for the young people is actually increased?